Coming up, heavy lump of metal, tasty spaghetti with
sausages!
And we dive deep into the prototype hydrogen 12-cylinder engine. Welcome back to part 6 of Project Marseille, where the work on this 1991 E31 850i continues. We're on a mission to mechanically restore this beautiful 8 Series after it's been sitting neglected for over 10 years. In the previous episode, we removed the engine and transmission for M73B54 OEM Plus build. The plan is to up the power of this engine while retaining its essence and originality. Now we are going to take a closer look at the donor engine that I bought a long time ago. This is the later 5.4 liter V12 engine out of the prototype hydrogen-powered 7 Series, E31 850i from around the year 2000. BMW built around 15 of these cars back in the day and they were running them all over the world. But this model never went into actual mass production. It's a fascinating prototype and you can find more videos of this model on YouTube. The engine that I ended up with was used for testing by the factory, and at the end of each project, BMW sells parts that it no longer needs as Schrott, which literally means scrap in German. The guy I bought it from the factory many moons ago as he deals with used parts and kept this engine in storage, but he never used it and I ended up buying it from him. He was told at the time that the engine has around 5,000 kilometers. Of course, zero proof there, but I inspected the engine when I got it and it looks extremely clean inside, as you shall see as well in a bit. You can see that it has deleted distributors as they were running a different ignition system on this engine and that the intake manifolds were modified and custom made to work with petrol and hydrogen. Otherwise, the engine is internally unchanged from a regular M73 engine. Lovely piece of history here, and these intake manifolds are gonna look great on the wall. Now we need to make sure that this engine is actually good and usable, so we're going to do a leak down test of all cylinders. First, we're going to remove the intake and exhaust manifolds, boroscope the entire engine. I did that back when I bought it, and the cylinders and valves look mint. I just vacuumed up the valves, and this is port injected engine, so the valves are bound to be on the cleaner side, but take a closer look. That bad boy looks mint, absolutely mint. For reference, I'll show you a bit later the intake valves on the old engine, but this looks splendid. There's another one, and another one. These bolts look brand new as well. Time to get the spark plugs out, but first we need to... So the previous owner, before he put the engine in storage, put oil into the cylinders, which was very prudent of him. Let's check out the cylinders. This one is near the top. Sort of the same. This one is down, and you can see that the cylinders look absolutely mint, and there's not a lot of carbon buildup on the pistons, which means this is indeed a low mileage engine. It looks brand new. Does it have 5,000 kilometers? I have no idea, but it certainly doesn't have a lot. Same. So I scoped every single cylinder when I bought the engine, and I didn't find a single flaw anywhere. You can see some oil residue there. Like I said, the previous owner put oil in the cylinders, but all of this looks perfect. And look at this, there isn't even a big ridge built up on the top of the cylinders, and the head looks really clean as well. This is why when I saw this engine for the first time in person and the price was 700 euros, immediately bought it. Immediately. So visual inspection, hard pass. Now I'm going to do a leak down test. If it passes that as well, then it's good to go, and we are going to simply use the block and the heads from this engine. Everything else is going to be from the M70 and mix of new parts as well, different camshafts and whatnot. Hazard leak down tester. So let's start with one that's at top or near the top. So we need to zero this out. Lock it. Connect the line. Cylinder number 2, that's about 4%. Looks like we have a bad exhaust valve. Pretty darn bad. Nearly 80% loss coming directly through the exhaust valve. Let's move along. 0% loss. So cylinder number 9, 0% loss? That's peculiar. No loss whatsoever. Cylinder number 10, 0% loss. 60% loss on bank 2, cylinder 11. Nicht good! Just finished the leak down test and the results are not good. This is bank 1, cylinder number 1, 2, and 6 are good. 3, 4, 5 are not. We have 60% loss coming out of the exhaust valves. Then bank 2, almost perfect, except cylinder number 11, 60% loss coming out of the exhaust valve as well. It's kind of strange as I was getting inconsistent results, so we'll pop the valve covers off, check the timing of the engine, and just inspect everything in general, see how it looks. But it's possible that the exhaust valves are rusty or whatever, and we'll need to refurbish the heads at the very minimum. We'll also inspect the bottom end, remove the rod bearings, see how everything looks there. But anywho, we're gonna leave this engine alone for now and focus on the old one. I wanna put it on the engine stand, strip it down, remove all of the parts that we need for this engine, and then remove it from the engine stand and put this one on the stand and continue with whatever we're doing now. First, we need to remove the flywheel. The crank is locked. The flywheel, the pressure plate, and the clutch plate will go out to be refurbished. So the upper oil pan gasket was leaking heavily. But anyway, I'm gonna go get the stand now. Might need to go to the software store to pick up some bolts. Back from the software store with bolts. Touchdown. Strip time. Look at that. We have a gasket here that wasn't leaking. And then BMW switched to rubber on N62 and this leaks all the time. Peculiar, isn't it? This one here goes to bank 1, B1. Oh my God. What do we have here? Certificate d'assurance. From 2019, but not for this car. Anyone want that? What did that's... Pretty sure Ein Einhaken used to live here. That would be German for squirrel. And take a look at the valves. This is what I mean when I say that engine is definitely low kilometers. This here is an engine with 200,000 kilometers. Oh. It was replaced at one point. You can see goop here. Lovely. Where's the rust loser? Here it is. Oh, that one doesn't feel good. Work it back and forth. Ah, we broke it. I just checked, and do you know how much this Valley pen cover costs brand new? 645 euros. Ridiculous! Now I need to give them a few love taps. You do not want to snap these, even though I'm not using this engine. I'd prefer to avoid snapping them. Oh, this one here. And the last one is giving us issues. I don't think this one is coming out. Yeah, snapped. There was no chance. It's like opening a coffin. Let's see them banjo bolts. Hello. You know what? For a 30-year-old engine with 200,000 kilometers, that is pretty clean. Let me look at the valve cover. Nice, man, nice. Camshafts in perfect condition. Any loose banjo bolts? No. Good. Good. Ah, this one was slightly loose. Not too shabby, huh? Equally good. Ah, that one was loose. So we had two loose banjo bolts. I just want to quickly check whether this engine is still in time or not. So I'm going to put back the vibration damper. Set the engine at TDC. You can see that the engine is at TDC when those two marks line up, and cam lobes on cylinder number 1 are pointing up. So this one is not sitting flush all the way, so it's ever so slightly off on this side as well. What? Yeah, that wasn't supposed to come together. This is now trash because it's slightly bent, and this sleeve was not supposed to come out together with the adapter, but they are just rusted together. This one is coming out easily. This one is therefore usable, not bent. It's a little seal here that we need to replace. Now you're going to remove the upper timing cover. Now you're going to flip it around so we can remove the upper and lower oil pan. Ow, my hands. Oh, that's great. Ah, scheiße. We have that broken bolt here that we need to extract. Hey, that's loose. Warte mal! We need to disconnect this here. We need the oil pump as well. What do you say we pop a rod cap or two and see what the rod bearings on M70 engine with 200,000 kilometers look like? This one actually looks near perfect. I removed the spark plug so we can push down the piston. Take a look at the upper one. Normal wear, not too bad at all. And the crankshaft is spotless. I'm gonna mark it down as untorqued. Some wear, but not too bad. And the crank here looks perfect as well. Tell you what, this is much heavier than Alpina engine. Need a bigger thing here. Leverage. Jesus. And I lubed up this thing. The next step is to remove the crank bolt, aka Jesus bolt, and the issue here is how to lock the crankshaft. There is a special crank holder tool from BMW that's NLA, no longer available. So this is the crank holder tool for the N62 engine, and it looks like the holes do line up. So I'm thinking if we can get a big pipe here and then hold it against the floor, that should do the trick. So let's try that. I'm gonna go find the rusty pipe. We have a choice of two rusty pipes. Shorter one and the longer one. Let's try the longer one. I think this might work. Okay, Michael Bublé, let's see what happens. Oh, come on. That was way too easy. I love this thing. I really do. I have no affiliation with them, but they make fantastic tools. And it wasn't even fully charged. Thank you, rusty pipe. Love taps. It's coming off. Nice. So this engine had timing chain noise, and it was because of this guide here, I believe. If you remember on Project Bilbao, we also had the same issue. The timing chain was really noisy, and I ended up replacing this timing chain tensioner here, the piston and everything, and then it went away. But later it came back. The guy that I sold the car to told me he ended up replacing the timing chain and this guide, and then it completely went away. But he didn't find anything wrong with the chain or the guide, but there was an update for this guide, I think in 91 or something like that, so this should be the updated one, but it looks good. I mean, the plastic is not cracked. I don't see a ton of wear on the guide. And that, ladies and senoras, is everything that we need from the old engine. So we're gonna take it off the stand, put it in the corner, and once I take apart the other engine, I'm gonna use those parts, valve covers, timing covers, and the pans on the bottom to close this one up. And then I'm just gonna shove it somewhere in the corner in the shop, and it can stay there as a good core if I ever decide to overhaul it one day. Oh mon Dieu. I need wood, man.
Oh yeah, baby. You give me some wood. Oh no, I'm going down.
Got the wood.
Come on.
Oh, professional driver here.
Langsam, bitte. I know I would.
It's a sad, sad situation.
Except it ain't.
Now you're gonna cover it like a dead body. I had some time to think about the failed leak down test, and do you remember Project Castellón E31 850i? That car was sitting for 20 plus years, and when we initially did the compression test on the engine, the results were miserable. We got 2-3 bars of compression, but then we got the engine to run again, fully warmed up, gave it a couple of revs, then repeated the compression test, and the results were perfect. That's simply because the engine was sitting for such a long time. The valves were gummed up, and once everything started to move, go up and down, it kind of receded itself, and the valves started to seal again. I think that's what we have here. This thing was sitting for 20 years as well, and I can see a bit of rust on the exhaust valves, so I think once it's up and running again, it would come back to life. The valves will start to seal again. But we are absolutely not going to take that risk. I was sitting yesterday with my board members, having a few cervezas, and we reached the decision that the heads are gonna come off. We're going to inspect the valves and overhaul them completely. But then I started thinking some more, and I kicked out the board members because they didn't like my following suggestion. Since we're gonna have the heads off, why not port them as well? Holy schnitzel, this is going to get really expensive. So this morning I got a quote for that. It's 3,700 euros, and it's gonna take about 2 months to get it done. So I'm absolutely not doing that because I don't wanna wait that long. I wanna start putting this thing together, not as quickly as possible, but I don't wanna just drag it out forever. I wanna finish it in a timely manner. But I'm waiting for another quote, so we'll see what's going to happen there. For now, let's take this puppy apart. That hurts! What the f are you doing? What did I catch this thing? It's, well, brand new. That is ridiculous! Yeah, this is actually a much better head as well than the M70 because he has rollers. Not a speck of sludge anywhere. So there's no doubt in my mind this is a very, very low mileage engine. Look at the sprocket there, squeaky clean, and the head itself, unbelievable condition. It's new. I've never seen a used engine in such good condition. This is unbelievable. We're gonna treat the camshafts with some fogging oil from Men. A little bit in the cylinders as well. Now you're gonna check the timing of this engine. Oh yeah, timing is bang on the money. To check the timing, the mark on the vibration damper and the timing cover need to line up. And also that notch there needs to line up with the oil strip bar. You can see that the tool is sitting perfectly flush on bank 1 and bank 2 as well. So yeah, there's one more thing that I'm gonna need from the old engine, and that is the rear timing cover, because M70 doesn't have this pipe here for coolant. I want to remove the water pump, but in order to remove the water pump, we have to remove the vibration damper. You can only get it at 2 spots. Piece of cheesecake. What would I do without this rusty pipe? There we are. And instead of that one, this one simply goes on like that. Yep. And then the M70 crank hub pulley mounts like this, and then the vibration damper on it. Easy. What do you say we take a little break and do something extremely satisfying, like make these parts look better than brand new? Okay, amigos, this is my vapor blasting cabinet from Vixen Surface Treatments, Aquablast 1215. And yes, I'm gonna say their name every single time. Do you know why? When I first made an inquiry about this machine and they told me the price, I couldn't afford it. But then something amazing happened. The owner of the company, the CEO, the big boss, watched my videos. He loved what I was doing and decided to provide me the machine to do good things with it. Thank you so much for that. I adore this machine. It is my favorite tool in the shop. And in case you're new to the channel, get ready to be impressed. Magic! As usual, blown away by the results. If you're a shop or in business of restoring cars, this thing is irreplaceable and worth every shilling. In the end, it saves so much time and money because you don't need to replace this part, just blast it in the cabinet. And if you compare it with sandblasting, when you sandblast the part, you have to paint it afterwards because the finish is not going to be as nice. And sandblasting is more aggressive, it actually hurts the surface. While vapor blasting, it actually cleans and treats the surface at the same time, and you just get this amazingly beautiful finish. I mean, the bolts are brand new. I can actually reuse them. Don't need to buy new ones. Just compare them with the old ones. So the big pipe, unfortunately, I cannot use, even though it's brand spanking new. The M71 has a small nipple here, and this one doesn't, but this one we might be able to use. Let me check. So you can actually use this pipe here that looks, well, brand new compared to the old one that we removed from the M70 engine. This one is very expensive from the dealer, so. So this was specially designed for this engine. It looks rather simple. The upper timing covers are exactly the same. Neu, wie neu. Now you're going to remove the oil pump. Brand new oil pump. You never know when you're going to need this. Let's see if there are any rod bearings that went dancing. At the first glance, it would appear that they're all good. Here's how the bottom end looks like. Squeaky clean. There you can see the bottom of one cylinder. Another one, mint condition. Now we're going to remove rod caps one by one to inspect the bearings. We need to make sure that they're in good condition. If they're bad, we can replace them. If one of them spun, then we need to rebuild the entire bottom end. But if they look good, then I can just put them back and order brand new rod bolts and torque them to spec, because these are one-time use bolts. Lower rod bearings, they look good, and it's actually more evidence that this is a low mileage engine. They look better than the M70 bearings, because on the M70 bearings, this initial silver layer was completely gone. And if you remember Alpina engine that had 100 kilometers at the time when it blew up, it also had brand new rod bearings, and we saw the same wear on them. Some call this sacrificial or break-in layer. I'm not really sure about that, but I know that this is good and doesn't need to be replaced, because even if I put brand new rod bearings, they're just going to end up looking exactly the same in no amount of time. That upper bearing is bad. They take more abuse than the lower ones, and we'll definitely need to replace it. The other one is actually not too bad, and the crank journal is perfect, smooth as glass. Down to the last journal, and I think we're going to go ahead and do the rod bearings. I found a few upper rod bearings that I don't really like the look of. Let me show you. See how this upper rod bearing has that initial silver layer, then the gray layer, and then this one went past that to this bluish layer? I found a few of them that are like that, and I don't really like the look of that. So we are going to replace them. This is nothing alarming. I mean, the crankshaft is in mint condition. There are no scratches, anything like that. And it would be just silly to leave them like this and not replace them, since we're already here and we have easy access. Let's pop the lower timing cover. Now I'm gonna go home, get some rest, and tomorrow we're gonna get the heads off. Good morning, and welcome to a bit of pornography to start the day off right. The headers from Ukraine from Swar Performance just arrived, and they are a thing of beauty. I mean, look at this. These are custom headers that Victor made, because the exhaust manifold is different on M70 and M73, and this will allow us to use M73 heads because this bolts to them, and then this goes here, and then it goes to the stock E31 cats. You're all aware of the terrible situation that's happening in Ukraine right now, and despite all of that, Victor managed to make these from scratch within a month and also deliver them within that time frame. Hats off to you, my friend. Hats off, and please stay safe. Let's temporarily bolt them up to the engine and see what they look like. Oh, and another package accidentally ended up with me, and it contains sausages and salami. I think the driver mixed up some of the packages, and this was delivered to me by mistake. So I wrote them and told them to give me an address, and I'm gonna ship this to wherever it belongs, because losing your sausages, it ain't nice or fair. Let's see if I can figure out which one goes where. I think this one goes here. This is all just sort of loosely bolted in place, but fit and finish, perfection. Millimeters of clearance here and there, and yet everything sits and fits perfectly, and it connects to stock E31 cats, which is exactly what we want. This wasn't sponsored or anything. He didn't give me any discount. This is just one man doing wonderful work and deserves every penny you pay him. Victor, my friend, thank you very much. I'm gonna leave the link to his shop in the description. He's done loads of these engines, M73, M70, as well as other brands, so check him out. We're going to remove the timing chain, but first we need to put the engine at TDC. Just like that. I'm just going to quickly measure the tension on the chain here, so I have it as a reference point when we assemble the engine. The repair manual says it should be 6 millimeters plus minus 5. So we press the guide in, measure here, 38 millimeters, and then we press it in. We have 32, so that's exactly 6 mils. All right, that's nice and easy. Remove the tensioner and brace yourself. This is spring loaded. That's the piston. Now you're going to remove the sprockets. The guide has a clip here. It's actually in excellent condition. It has no wear, but we are of course going to replace this as well as the timing chain. Now we're going to remove the upper rear timing cover. We also don't need this thing. So this upper and lower rear timing cover I'll have to remove from the old engine because M70 doesn't have this camshaft position sensor here or this coolant pipe there. Now we're going to remove the camshafts, and we're not going to be using stock M73 cams. Obviously these two are in perfect condition, essentially brand new cams, so I'm going to remove them and put them on the side for something else. Instead, my buddy Valerio, who also has a YouTube channel where he messes with broken junk like I do, he's going to give me a spare set of M73 cams that he has, and I'm going to drop that off with the billas, and they're going to regrind them to a different spec, which will give us more HPs in the end. First, we need to remove the oil injector strip. That's what the repair manual calls it. The repair manual doesn't have a specific process to remove camshafts, so we are going to slowly and evenly undo the caps. That way we don't put uneven pressure on the camshaft. And every cap is stamped, and as you can see, there's one on the head stamped over there, one on the cap, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So when we come to put them back in, we're going to put them in the exact same order. All right, so all of the caps are loose. Now you're going to remove the rocker dudes, but first we need to mark all of them. They also need to go back in the exact same spot. Now the lifters. These are going immediately into a bag, and then we're going to label them as well. Let's do this one as well since we're already here. Now I'm going to loosen cylinder head bolts, and there is a specific order in which you do that. The repair manual states to go from outside to in and to go from 14 to 1. Oh, this is light. ¿Qué pasa, amigos? You look good. Boy, that is a thick gasket. The head gasket was not blown, at least not on this side. Cylinders look perfect. We just need to clean up all of this. Let's look at the head. Looks overall good. Plastic blade. The head gasket looks good. Definitely not blown. Same dealio on the deal, 14-1. And this head gasketio is auch gut. I removed one of the exhaust valves that failed the leak down test, and sure enough, we have rust. You can see surface rust on the valve seat right over there, and the valve itself is a bit rusty, and this is why it failed the leak down test. This is simply due to age. The engine was sitting for such a long time, and probably these exhaust valves that now have rust on it were slightly open. The rust formed, and now they're not sealing properly anymore. This doesn't look too bad, but I'll do some research, and hopefully this is something that I can fix on my own. Maybe just lap the valves and that'll clean up the rust. Or I need to take the heads to a machine shop. Would prefer to avoid the latter because let's just say I have trust issues when it comes to machine shops. Okay, I'm gonna get a clean carbon fiber and just wipe off the cylinders. Cylinder bores look perfect. That line there, that's just carbon. It's nothing to worry about. You can't feel that underneath your fingernail. And then bank one, equally awesome. No scoring marks or visual damage anywhere. Fogging oil for men. Rotisserie chicken version 12 cylinders. Look at that. 12 pistons going up and down. Isn't that a beautiful sight? Spins over beautifully. We have parts galore here. 2 V12 engines blown into pieces. I love it. I think we're gonna park this episode here, and then in the next one we're gonna continue with the block. We're going to remove all of the pistons so we can clean them properly, inspect the piston rings, and if everything looks good, then I have new rod bearings coming and we can button up the bottom end. But we got extremely lucky here. This engine, absolutely low mileage by every single evidence so far, and it was a good running unit whenever it was, I don't know if it was on the engine stand or in a car, but it was definitely working properly when it was taken out of the service. As far as everything else goes, I'm still trying to find someone to port the heads. If I can find someone and they can do it within a month, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. If not, then we'll see. The rest of the parts, aluminum ones are gonna end up in the Aquablast cabinet, steel ones such as valve covers and the lower oil pan, the subframe, that's gonna go out for powder coating. And I don't know, there's a lot to be done. So if I'm, for example, stuck waiting on the heads, we can move along and refurbish the power steering pump or the brake booster and so on. The other day I spent 12 hours here working on this engine and the time just flew by. It disappeared. I enjoyed every single second of it. And it's just amazing when you get to do what you love for a living, and that's thanks to all of you. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I couldn't even sleep the other night because I knew I was gonna take this engine apart, and I was so freaking excited. I couldn't wait to wake up and come here and start, wrenching. I do hope that you're as excited as I am about this project. This thing is gonna look spectacular once we're done with it. As always, thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing. I would really appreciate that, and I'll see you very soon. Ciao!